Welcome to the Rebekah Panepinto Project. Today, I am very excited to host a new friend named Sebastian West. Sebastian is an experienced IT leader with more than 30 years within technology, including over a decade guiding teams through large-scale digital transformations within hybrid multi-cloud environments. As Vice President of IT and Customer Technologies at WSI, he leads global initiatives that strengthen IT foundations while elevating the employee and the customer experience. Before joining WSI, Sebastian served as the Director of IT Operations at a Fortune 250 manufacturing company. There, he built a reputation for balancing innovation with operational excellence. He holds a bachelor's degree in leadership and organizational development, a master's degree in sustainability management, and is also a veteran of the U.S. Navy. Sebastian's passion is for leading people and organizations to leverage technology in ways that make work smarter and customers happier. He believes that great IT leadership is less about technology and more about the people, inspiring teams to solve problems and embrace change. Looking ahead, Sebastian is focused on how AI, automation, and sustainable supply chains are reshaping the future of logistics and retail, and how organizations can harness these trends to stay ahead without losing sight of the human element. We have an amazing conversation today where Sebastian shares great stories that he's learned throughout his career, which point him back to the reality that it's less about the technology and so much more about how you mentor and grow your people. Enjoy the show. Sebastian, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Rebekah. I'm happy to be here. Appreciate
Same
you
here.
bringing me on. Yeah.
Yeah, you serve such an interesting part of the retail industry that sometimes, I hate to say it, gets overlooked or can be forgotten with the element of 3PL and being able to help people get their stuff. But it is so important. And the people that obviously do it well, like the Amazons of the world, are people who get loyal customers. So I'm excited to dive in and get specifically your perspective on the industry from where you sit with WSI.
And I think you said it well, right? It's kind of an overlooked area of what kind of makes a consumer really, whether it's in the US or elsewhere, the way that you end up getting the thing that you buy online. You don't always think about what happens in the middle. It's the place that you're buying it from, and then it comes to your doorstep. But there's a lot that happens in between there, and that's where we come in. And it's great. For me, I've been with my organization for about 2 years, and I'm still learning a ton. It's been a great journey.
Very cool. Yeah, when it comes to WSI, as I've been studying up on you guys and learning more, it feels like there's really 4 areas that you have focused and excelled in really bringing a unique customer experience to the market. Can you give us a little overview of where those sit today and the unique value proposition?
For sure. So we actually started as a warehousing company. WSI stands for Warehouse Specialists. And that's, where we found our footing. But at the end of the day, we're quite a bit more than that. So up where we are, which is in Northeast Wisconsin, big paper industry. And that's, so our business really started with housing these huge, huge rolls of paper. But then we found that we were really good at our jobs, right? So eventually we rolled into not just warehousing, but chemical warehousing, which requires a whole different set of skills. As you can imagine, a lot of compliance and safety regulations there. Then we got into transportation and logistics, which again is just part of the entire supply chain and kind of what 3PLs bring to the table. And most recently, we've dipped our toes into the e-commerce and fulfillment side of things, which is a lot like what you had mentioned with Amazon. It's really helping a lot of our customers, especially new customers that are just trying to get their footing with online retail. How can we help them with the distribution and supply chain aspect of their product? It's been great. There's a lot of tech opportunities in the 3PL space for sure, especially when you think of like automation on the floor, autonomous vehicles, IoT, things like that. It's it's pretty ripe for opportunity, and we're exploring a lot of that right now.
When I think of warehousing too, less on the chemical, more on the paper and the large products. You need space. So what does that look like in being able to manage, I'm sure, to a lot of extent, commercial space, as big as maybe what once was a data center for you guys, and I'm sure all across the country. So how do you structure that, and how do you guys orchestrate, what lives in which warehouse and when?
I think one of the unique things about WSI in particular is we started in this journey of warehousing for the paper companies, but we're a family-owned business, and the owner really saw early on the advantage of retail, or sorry, not retail, but just space in general, right? And so it was pretty obvious, I think, that there's some probably strategic areas within the United States that offer not only space, like warehousing space, right? But you want to think about like what are the different modalities of shipping products, right? So it's sea, air, transport like trucks, and then rail, right? So one of the things that I think they recognized early on is, hey, we can buy some of these strategic land opportunities, put up some warehousing, and that gives us a significant advantage as opposed to other 3PLs when it comes to not just being able to service our customers, but just having a real estate presence is a big deal. And so over the course of the last 60 to 70 years, that's kind of been the one of the strategic operations that we've gone through just to acquire that space. And it's really turned out well, because not just for warehousing, but for our fulfillment activities, for the chemical activities, having strategic locations where you can house products for our customers, but then be able to ship in a timely manner regionally, it makes a huge difference for sure.
Well, and yeah, I think of a lot of retailers, they've come around to being okay with being in the IT game. But I still don't think they want to be in the warehousing game. I still don't think they want to have all that product on hand. And
No,
so you serve a really unique space for these folks that are, hey, well, if you have the space, then take it. Take my extra
that's
t-shirts. Take whatever.
yeah. Well, and you said it pretty well there, right? Space is just overhead for a lot of retailers, right? And they don't want that overhead, and they're not the experts in supply chain, distribution, warehousing, right? And that's where we come in. What we see too is a lot of companies who, they start up, they gain their footing, and then they quickly begin to realize, hey, we're just not great at things like fulfillment and storage and inventory. What we really need is a partner to help us execute better and more strategically. And oftentimes, I think we find that we end up saving these customers money because they try to do it themselves, and there's an art to it, right? It's an art and a science, I would say.
When it comes to the uniqueness of then adding the chemical component with the chemical warehousing you do, I think of safety and security concerns. So what have been extra different things you've had to put in place when it comes to how you warehouse, specific chemicals that may or may not be dangerous to humans? And what's just the uniqueness of making sure that that is all managed from beginning to end without any kind of room for error?
You hit it on the head, right? It's compliance and safety first and foremost. And our one of our key core values is safety across the board, right? And so, yeah, when you think of chemical warehousing, it's not always just liquids, right? It's solids too, and there's environmental controls. There's firewalls, not in the technical sense, but in sort of the, hey, we need to contain this product, right, in its own separate area, just in the event something does happen. And that doesn't happen without technology, right? So you need sort of that automated compliance reporting. You need to be able to, put sensors in and things like that uh, will monitor spaces 24/7, right? Including cameras. Sometimes those are things that are required as part of OSHA uh, or whatever governing body. But, sometimes it's just for our own peace of mind, right? To make sure that we're not only meeting the customer's needs, but our own safety requirements and just looking out for the best interests of all parties, right? So WSI is really we're pretty unique in that space. It's not easy. It certainly isn't, and we get customers that find that we're pretty flexible and we're willing to work with them to get the things that they need to house their product.
I love it too in your just leadership style overall. You're a big people first leader. And so when it comes to that scenario, I think of also keeping the people that work for you in the warehouse safe. Have there been unique ways you've been able to introduce IoT, robotics, some of the IT pieces that are adding to the safety of the folks that are having to maybe live and breathe and be among these chemicals that could be dangerous, but making sure that they don't have any, impacts on their health by being around it?
Yeah, for sure. And, without getting into specific product names, we've actually been able to partner with some vendors to help us tie in fairly seamlessly on like endpoint monitoring tools, right? And products that will look at all kinds of metrics, temperature, any kind of spikes in temperature, flooding, fire, of course, right? Like all that stuff. We're pretty uniquely positioned in the sense that ties in directly with our network, and we don't need like any sort of separate network or some sort of weird we got to hook this thing up to this other thing. It's all tied in fairly seamlessly. So, and what's really nice about that is, when we have, let's just say a switch go down or a firewall or something, right? You get alerted to that, and that's pretty standard, right? You would expect that. Same goes with these endpoint monitoring products, right? Because they're seamlessly tied in with our network, we get automated alerting really quickly, and we're able to tie that into safety response and mitigation. So I think it's pretty nice. And just aside from the chemical, right? We look at things like ergonomics, safety on things like lift trucks, just across the board, right? We're really we care about the employees, and we want to make sure that they have a good digital experience, but also a good safety experience as well.
Well, yeah, you want them to have longevity and health because then they can continue to serve the company as well and have an amazing life post whatever happens at WSI.
Yeah,
you don't want work to be, inhibiting that. So it's very cool to be able to help them scale and maintain their health and strength by leveraging what is available to us these days with things like robotics and monitoring, as you mentioned. Another big piece to 3PL is the transportation element. And I'm curious how you guys have uniquely positioned yourself within the market for how you move product from point A to point B or C, D, wherever else it needs to go. What does that look like within WSI, and how do you manage your fleet?
We just hired on a new senior director of transportation brokerage, who has actually come in and really found some hidden gems, I would say. So, the ways that we have operated, he's been able to come in. And I think one of the nice things and how it ties really well into technology, so Dave is our senior director on the brokerage side. He's been not only able to leverage his experience in brokerage, but has been able to come in and really find some automation opportunities, right? And oftentimes, from an IT perspective, certainly there's governance and security that kind of plays into the shadow IT side of things, right? But one of the great things about WSI is, we like to really partner with our business leaders, um, and when they come to the table with ideas, because tech these days it's accessible to everybody, right? And if as an IT leader I'm trying to uh, put obstacles in the way and stymie that innovation, it's not going to work, right? So my job really is to partner with my business um, leaders and make sure that you know they're not going off the rails on things, but also encourage that innovation and really support it. So in the brokerage area, one of the things we've been able to do is really reduce a lot of our labor costs via automation and tying it into our ERP system, and really the entire concept of brokerage is it's almost entirely automated. Which at the end of the day, what's really nice about that is being able to automate allows us to reduce our labor costs and therefore pass sort of that cost savings on. Where we had been doing a lot of manual work, we're just not doing it anymore, right? And we're able to shift people to look at value-added services, increasing our customer base, and those types of things are, they're just really important for our strategic growth. So it's been cool, and even for myself, it's been a great learning experience. Working with Dave and his team and understanding, how does tech play into it, and really when our business partners are bringing tech to the table, not getting, hey, no, this is my territory. Being able to help that innovation and make it run faster, I think is really good.
Have you found a good bridge and way to solve for the kind of where's my stuff question, and the being able to know where something is, which warehouse, and when it's going to be where it needs to be, and being able to have visibility into that? Or is that a future phase and future problem to tackle?
No, that's today. That's a yesterday, actually, and I think it's a great question, right? Because yeah, people want to know where's my stuff, right? They're expecting next day, two days at the most, right? I mean, Amazon's really set the bar on that type of stuff. Um, and we don't have to, at WSI, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. These are services that are already readily available, right? And one of the biggest challenges for us is integration of services like that, integration with the carriers, right? So you've got the big three: UPS, FedEx, and USPS. But then there's a lot of other smaller carriers too that are way more cost effective. And a lot of it for us is keeping on top of like those types of things, right? Understanding what's the market kind of expecting, what carriers make sense for what customers. And so, a lot of that is just making sure that we are the experts there. So our customers don't have to think about that type of thing, and we can deliver the best value for their product and their end user consumer needs.
I'm curious to shift gears a little bit now to more your people orientation throughout your IT career, which now that I've gotten to know you a little better may or may not come from your time in the Navy. Feeling some of these leadership philosophies you have were influenced there, but you've been more of a people-first IT leader over the technology. You obviously love the technology. I'm going to assume you've played a video game or two based on your headset.
What? That's so weird. Yeah.
Just a random guess. But when it comes to some of these philosophies that you've used to be successful through your career and, take yourself to a place where you are leading the IT org, what has really rung true and been a consistent just confirmation that you've seen in implementing how you treat your people and how you lead your team?
With the military, right, it's really structured. Not to date myself here, but early 90s is when I joined the military, and certainly, tech was just kind of getting started as we know it, right? It was the next evolution. I would say, yeah, I learned I learned things in the military. I learned a lot of what not to do. If I'm being honest, right?
Mhm.
There's structure in the military because it's, it really is life and death, right? And if anything, the military is oftentimes years ahead of corporate America or whatever, right? But
They
in
just don't
terms
want
of
you to know that, but yes.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure,
They
for
play it
sure,
really low key.
yeah, yeah. Um, but from a leadership perspective, it took me a bit to get here, right? But so I was sort of like I joined the military and then I got out and I'm like, okay, my only marketable skill is IT, so I'm going to go to school for that, right? And I did. Later on in life, I had the opportunity to get into a frontline leadership position, and at the same time, I wanted to go back to school, and I ended up going back for leadership and organizational development because I think in my head I was sort of like, tech changes so fast. There's no way that you can go to school and then come out and a couple of years later it's going to be the same. So why not get some education on something that really is going to make a difference and won't change as dynamically as tech is. So I went to school for leadership and organizational development, and honestly, it was the best move I ever made. Right. A lot of people will ask me, why didn't you go to school for IT? Simply put, I love being a people leader. I love building culture, and I love just getting that sort of rapport with people, right? Because I think at the end of the day, culture really means quite a bit to an organization. Um, it's how we lift each other up. It's really how we drive progress and eliminate silos across the organization. And really, part of my job is to develop culture. Certainly, technology is a large part of my job, but when you get to my position, you're not the expert anymore, right? Like I'm not the one that should always be driving strategy, technical strategy. I rely on the people that work for me, the people who are put into the positions to be the experts in those particular areas to help me drive that strategy. But my job really is comes down to culture and how do we kind of live our day to day. Oftentimes, people will come to me and say like, oh yeah, like I spend so much time at work, like these are my friends. And look, I've seen the memes on LinkedIn and whatever, right? Like, there's a camp of, well, as a leader, like you shouldn't be friends with people. Ah, I think that's BS, man. Because at the end of the day, like these are the people that you're in the trenches with, right? And you get to know them. And it turns out they're not always aligned to, quote unquote, fighting for the organization, right? What they're really doing is working for you. They're working for the person next to them that are in the trenches with them, right? And they don't want to disappoint. And, a lot of times, like, if you ever look at the evolution of teams, right? You've got like a 1 to 4 evolution. One is, hey, we just don't operate as a team. It's everybody for themselves. 2 is like, yeah, we're starting to come together and collaborate. 3 is, hey, we're really like, I want to help you because your success is my success. And then the 4th evolution and really the pinnacle of a great team is we are now leaders for this organization. We're so functional that it's not about us anymore. It's about helping out those outside of IT. And that's really, where I try to go with my team. And I think honestly, we're starting to get there here at WSI. And it's just a fun journey for sure.
Well, I've enjoyed learning more about these philosophies you had, but I'm curious when it comes now to principles, because I'm sure you have one. What has been the guiding principle that you've lived by to be successful in business?
I talked about leadership. I talked about building good teams and, kind of guiding people. In the same breath, I guess one thing I would say is like being a leader doesn't always translate to being the most liked person in the room. Especially in IT, it's really hard because people want things and they want them now. People think oftentimes that they're smarter than IT when it comes to technology. You have to also be able to make the hard decisions, right? And I got asked this question, a while back when I was interviewing for a role when I was, much younger, and it was, I think it went something like this, right? Would you rather be liked or would you rather be respected? Um, I answered that I'd rather be liked. Kind of in a way, that's the type of person I am. But what I've learned over the years is that's not um, that's not the path to good leadership. It really isn't, right? Because you can like your boss, he or she might be a great person, but at the end of the day, what people really want is some decisiveness, some leadership, um, and hard decisions to be made, and that is part of my job. So, my guiding principle is, I'm open to gathering consensus, but I'm not open to making sure everybody is agreeable to whatever decision. It's lonely at the top, and sometimes you got to make those tough decisions. And I don't mind doing it, right? Because at the end of the day, it's what's best for the organization. So I don't know. It's a long-winded way of saying like there's on the one hand there's like good transformative leadership skills that you need to have. On the other hand, you can't. It's not just about making friends and being liked, right? Sometimes you got to make the hard decisions.
Well, Sebastian, this has been so much fun learning more about you, your career, and WSI. So thanks for coming on to share, and we're excited to keep tabs on all that you're going to do next.
Hey, it was a real pleasure, Rebekah. Thank you so much for having me.
We'll talk again soon.
Great.